Let me ask you something. When was the last time you spent an entire day focused solely on your own growth, your own goals, your own mind, not scrolling through other people's lives, not worrying about what others think of you, not consuming endless content about other people's success stories? When did you last dedicate a full day to the person who matters most in your life? You. If you can't answer that question immediately, you're not alone. Most people spend their entire lives focused on everything except themselves. They wake up and immediately check what everyone else is doing. They spend their days reacting to other people's priorities. They go to bed thinking about conversations they had, mistakes they made, or what tomorrow's obligations look like. But here's what the most successful, fulfilled, and mentally strong people understand. The only person you can truly control, improve, and rebuild is yourself. Everything else is just distraction. This audiobook will teach you how to redirect every ounce of your mental energy toward the one project that will change everything. Rebuilding yourself from the ground up. You're about to learn why daily self-focus isn't selfish. It's strategic. Why personal reconstruction isn't optional. It's essential. And why the people who master this one skill end up living lives that others can only dream about. By the time you finish listening, you'll have a complete system for making yourself your #1 priority every single day. Not in a narcissistic way, but in a way that creates such a strong foundation that you can serve others from a place of abundance rather than emptiness. The question isn't whether you need to rebuild yourself. The question is whether you're finally ready to stop making excuses and start making progress. Chapter 1. The Scattering Effect. Right now, your mental energy is being scattered across 1,000 different directions, and it's destroying your potential. Every morning, you wake up and immediately begin fragmenting your focus. You check your phone, scroll through social media, read the news, respond to messages, and before you've even had breakfast, your brain has already been hijacked by dozens of other people's agendas. This is what I call the scattering effect. And it's the #1 reason why most people never achieve the life they want. They spend so much time and energy focused on external noise that they never develop the internal strength needed to create real change. Think about it. When you wake up and immediately check social media, you're essentially saying, everyone else's life is more important than mine. When you spend your commute listening to news about problems you can't solve, you're filling your mind with negativity that serves no constructive purpose. When you spend your lunch break scrolling through other people's highlight reels, you're training your brain to focus on comparison rather than creation. The average person checks their phone 6 times per day. That means every 10 minutes they're interrupting whatever they're doing to focus on something external. Each interruption doesn't just steal that moment, it fragments their entire mental state. Research shows that after each interruption, it takes an average of 23 minutes to fully refocus on the original task. Do the math. If you're interrupting yourself every 10 minutes but need 23 minutes to refocus, you're never actually focused. You're living in a constant state of mental fragmentation. And fragmented minds cannot create extraordinary lives. But the scattering effect goes deeper than just phone usage. It shows up in how you think about your problems. Instead of focusing on what you can control, your habits, your skills, your mindset, your daily choices, you focus on what you can't control. You worry about the economy, other people's opinions, past mistakes, or future uncertainties. You spend mental energy analyzing other people's behavior, predicting outcomes you can't influence, or rehearsing conversations that may never happen. This external focus creates a vicious cycle. The more you focus outward, the less you develop inward. The less you develop inward, the more dependent you become on external validation, stimulation, and direction. The more dependent you become on external factors, the less control you have over your own life. Meanwhile, the people who achieve extraordinary results live by a completely different principle. Quote, "They guard their mental energy like their life depends on it, because it does. They understand that attention is the most valuable resource they have, and they refuse to let it be hijacked by anything that doesn't serve their growth." These people don't check their phones first thing in the morning. They start their day with activities that build their internal strength: meditation, exercise, reading, planning, or skill development. They don't consume random content throughout the day. They're intentional about what enters their mind, choosing only information that serves a specific purpose in their growth or goals. They don't waste mental energy on things they can't control. Instead, they channel 100% of their focus toward the things they can influence: their thoughts, their habits, their skills, and their daily actions. This concentrated focus creates a compounding effect that most people never experience. The truth is, your life will never change until you take back control of your attention. As long as your focus is scattered, your results will be scattered. As long as your energy is fragmented, your progress will be fragmented. But the moment you learn to concentrate all of your mental resources on rebuilding yourself, everything changes. This isn't about becoming antisocial or ignoring your responsibilities. It's about recognizing that the strongest, most capable, most fulfilled version of yourself will naturally be better at handling relationships, responsibilities, and challenges. But you can't give what you don't have, and you can't build what you don't focus on. The scattering effect has convinced you that focusing on yourself is selfish, but the opposite is true. People with scattered focus become emotional drains on everyone around them. They're constantly seeking validation, reassurance, and direction from others because they never develop these qualities within themselves. People who focus on rebuilding themselves become sources of strength for everyone around them. They're stable, confident, and purposeful because they've invested the time and energy needed to build these qualities from the inside out. Starting today, you need to recognize every moment your focus scatters as a moment your potential diminishes. Every time you choose external distraction over internal development, you're choosing temporary stimulation over permanent transformation. The people living extraordinary lives aren't smarter than you, luckier than you, or more talented than you. They simply learned to focus all of their energy on the one project that matters most, becoming the best version of themselves. And once you master this skill, everything else becomes easier. Chapter 2. The Self-Focus Foundation. Self-focus isn't selfishness. It's the foundation of everything meaningful you'll ever accomplish. But most people have been conditioned to believe that focusing on themselves is wrong, narcissistic, or morally questionable. This conditioning is destroying lives, and it's time to understand why redirecting your focus inward is not only acceptable, but absolutely necessary. The confusion comes from misunderstanding what true self-focus actually means. True self-focus isn't about ignoring others. being inconsiderate or believing you're more important than everyone else. It's about recognizing that you can only give what you have. Help others from a place of strength rather than neediness, and create value in the world by first creating value within yourself. Think of self-focus like the oxygen mask principle on airplanes. Flight attendants always tell you to put your own mask on first before helping others. Why? Because if you pass out from lack of oxygen, you can't help anyone. The same principle applies to every area of life. If you're not mentally, emotionally, and physically strong, you can't be truly helpful to anyone else. Self-focus is the practice of intentionally directing your energy toward developing your character, skills, mindset, health, and capabilities. It's about becoming someone who adds value rather than drains it, someone who solves problems rather than creates them, someone who elevates others through your own elevated state. The people who achieve extraordinary results understand this principle deeply. They don't feel guilty about investing time and energy in their own development because they know this investment ultimately benefits everyone around them. A person who has built strong mental discipline doesn't lose control in stressful situations, making them more reliable for their family and team. Someone who has developed their skills becomes more valuable in their career, allowing them to provide better for their loved ones and contribute more to their organization. But self-focus goes beyond just practical benefits. It's about reclaiming ownership of your life experience. When you focus primarily on external factors, other people's opinions, circumstances you can't control, or outcomes you can't guarantee, you give your power away. You become a victim of your environment rather than the architect of your experience. Self-focus puts you back in the driver's seat. It shifts your attention from what's happening to you to what you're creating within you. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you start asking, "How can I grow from this?" Instead of thinking, "I hope things get better," you think, "How can I become better?" This shift in focus creates what psychologists call an internal locus of control. People with an internal locus of control believe their actions and choices primarily determine their outcomes. Research consistently shows these people are more successful, happier, and more resilient than those with an external locus of control who believe external factors determine their fate. The foundation of self-focus rests on 4 core principles. First, personal responsibility. Everything in your life is either something you created, something you allowed, or something you haven't figured out how to change yet. This doesn't mean you're to blame for bad things that happen, but it means you're responsible for your response to everything that happens. Second, continuous improvement. Self-focused people are committed to getting better every single day. They don't expect perfection, but they demand progress. They understand that small, consistent improvements compound over time to create extraordinary results. Third, authentic development. Self-focus isn't about becoming who you think you should be or who others expect you to be. It's about becoming the truest, strongest, most capable version of who you actually are. It's about aligning your external life with your internal values and aspirations. Fourth, service through strength. The ultimate goal of self-focus isn't to become isolated or self-absorbed. It's to become so strong, skilled, and grounded that you can serve others from abundance rather than neediness. When you've built a solid internal foundation, you can give without depleting yourself and help without becoming codependent. Building this foundation requires you to fundamentally change how you think about time and energy allocation. Instead of automatically giving your best hours to other people's priorities, you need to protect time for your own development. Instead of consuming whatever content is easiest or most entertaining, you need to be intentional about feeding your mind only what serves your growth. This isn't about becoming rigid or antisocial. It's about becoming intentional. You can still be generous with your time and energy, but you'll be generous from choice rather than compulsion, from strength rather than weakness. The people who struggle with self-focus usually struggle because they've never learned to distinguish between healthy self-focus and unhealthy self-absorption. Healthy self-focus makes you more valuable to others. Unhealthy self-absorption makes you a burden to others. Healthy self-focus builds character. Unhealthy self-absorption feeds ego. Healthy self-focus creates abundance. Unhealthy self-absorption operates from scarcity. The difference is intention and outcome. When your self-focus is designed to make you more capable, disciplined, skilled, and emotionally stable, it's healthy. When your self-focus is designed to avoid responsibility, seek validation, or feed insecurity, it's unhealthy. Starting today, you need to view self-focus as a moral imperative rather than a selfish indulgence. The world needs more people who have done the work to become mentally strong, emotionally stable, physically capable, and spiritually grounded. Your commitment to rebuilding yourself isn't just about improving your own life. It's about becoming someone who can contribute to improving the world. Chapter 3. The Psychology of Personal Reconstruction. Your brain is designed to keep you exactly where you are right now. Understanding this fact is crucial because most people try to change their lives while fighting against their own neurological programming and then wonder why transformation feels so difficult. The key to successful personal reconstruction lies in working with your brain's natural mechanisms rather than against them. The human brain operates on what neuroscientists call the prediction machine model. Your brain's primary job isn't to make you happy or successful. It's to keep you alive and conserve energy. To do this efficiently, it creates predictions about what will happen based on past experiences, then tries to make those predictions come true. This is why familiar patterns feel safe and comfortable, even when they're self-destructive. When you try to change, your brain interprets the unfamiliar as potentially dangerous. This triggers what researchers call the threat detection system, which floods your body with stress hormones and creates psychological resistance to change. Your brain literally treats personal growth like a survival threat, which explains why breaking old habits and building new ones can feel like fighting an uphill battle. But here's what most people don't understand. You can reprogram this system by understanding how your brain actually creates change. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself, operates on specific principles that, when properly applied, make transformation not just possible but inevitable. The first principle is repetition with intention. Your brain strengthens neural pathways that get used repeatedly and weakens pathways that go unused. Every time you practice a new thought pattern, behavior, or response, you're literally building new neural infrastructure. But random repetition isn't enough. You need intentional, focused repetition that reinforces the specific changes you want to create. The second principle is emotional significance. Your brain prioritizes information and experiences that carry strong emotional weight. This is why traumatic experiences can rewire your brain so quickly, but it also explains why positive experiences that generate strong emotions create lasting change. When you combine new behaviors with positive emotions like pride, accomplishment, or joy, you accelerate the rewiring process. The third principle is environmental consistency. Your brain uses environmental cues to trigger automatic behaviors. If you want to change your patterns, you need to either change your environment or consciously create new associations with existing environmental triggers. This is why changing your physical space, daily routines, and social environment can be so powerful in supporting personal transformation. The fourth principle is identity alignment. Your brain works hard to maintain consistency with how you see yourself. If you see yourself as someone who struggles with discipline, your brain will look for evidence to confirm this identity and resist evidence that contradicts it. But if you start seeing yourself as someone who is disciplined, your brain will work to maintain consistency with this new identity. Understanding these principles allows you to design a reconstruction process that works with your brain rather than against it. Instead of relying on willpower alone, you create systems that make the changes you want feel natural and automatic. Personal reconstruction also requires understanding the difference between surface-level changes and deep structural changes. Most people focus on changing their behaviors without addressing the underlying beliefs, identity, and mental models that created those behaviors in the first place. This is why most attempts at change fail. They're treating symptoms rather than causes. Deep structural change requires examining and often completely rebuilding your core beliefs about yourself, what's possible for you, and how the world works. These beliefs operate like the operating system of a computer. They determine what programs can run and how efficiently they function. If your operating system is corrupted with limiting beliefs, negative self-talk, and scarcity mindsets, no amount of surface-level behavioral change will create lasting transformation. The reconstruction process must address 5 key areas simultaneously: mental models, emotional patterns, behavioral systems, physical practices, and environmental design. Mental models are the frameworks you use to interpret reality and make decisions. Emotional patterns are your habitual responses to different situations and triggers. Behavioral systems are the consistent actions you take day after day. Physical practices are how you treat your body and use it to support your goals. Environmental design is how you structure your surroundings to support or hinder your growth. Most people try to change one area at a time, but this approach is inefficient and often ineffective. The 5 areas are interconnected. Changes in one area can either support or undermine changes in other areas. When you align all 5 areas around the same vision of who you're becoming, transformation happens much faster and with much less resistance. The psychology of reconstruction also requires understanding that setbacks and resistance are not signs of failure. They're natural parts of the change process. Your brain will test your commitment to new patterns by creating situations that trigger your old responses. These tests aren't problems to avoid. They're opportunities to strengthen your new neural pathways. Every time you choose your new response over your old pattern, you're not just making a good choice in that moment. You're literally rewiring your brain to make that good choice more automatic in the future. The key is to expect these tests, prepare for them, and view them as necessary parts of the reconstruction process rather than evidence that change is impossible. The most successful personal reconstructions happen when people approach the process with scientific curiosity rather than emotional attachment to specific outcomes. Instead of judging themselves for old patterns or getting frustrated with the pace of change, they observe their responses, experiment with new approaches, and adjust their strategy based on results. This scientific approach removes the emotional drama from change and allows you to focus on what actually works. You become less concerned with being perfect and more focused on collecting data about what moves you closer to your ideal self. This mindset shift alone can accelerate your reconstruction process by reducing the psychological friction that slows most people down. Chapter 4. Creating your daily self-focus system. The difference between people who successfully rebuild themselves and those who remain stuck isn't willpower, motivation, or natural ability. It's systems. Specifically, it's having a daily self-focus system that ensures you make consistent progress regardless of how you feel, what distractions arise, or what unexpected challenges appear. A daily self-focus system is a structured approach to personal development that removes decision-making from the equation and replaces it with automaticity. Instead of waking up each day wondering what you should work on or hoping you'll find time for growth, you have a predetermined system that guarantees you'll invest time and energy in rebuilding yourself every single day. The power of systems lies in their ability to create consistency without constant willpower. Willpower is a finite resource that gets depleted throughout the day, which is why relying on motivation alone always fails. But when you have a system, you don't need to feel motivated. You just need to follow the process you've already designed. Your daily self-focus system should be built around 5 core components that address different aspects of personal reconstruction. The first component is mental conditioning, specific practices that train your mind for clarity, focus, and resilience. This might include meditation, journaling, visualization, or reading that expands your thinking. The second component is skill development, deliberate practice of abilities that will make you more valuable and capable. This could be professional skills, creative skills, communication skills, or any other area where improvement will enhance your life and contribution to others. The third component is physical optimization, activities that build strength, endurance, health, and energy. Your physical state directly impacts your mental and emotional state, so maintaining and improving your body is essential for overall reconstruction. The fourth component is emotional regulation, practices that help you understand, manage, and direct your emotional energy. This might include reflection exercises, stress management techniques, or practices that build emotional intelligence and resilience. The fifth component is strategic planning, regular time spent reviewing your progress, adjusting your approach, and ensuring your daily actions align with your longer-term vision for who you're becoming. The key to making this system work is designing it to fit your actual life rather than your ideal life. Most people create elaborate self-improvement routines that require perfect conditions and unlimited time, then abandon them when reality interferes. Your system needs to be robust enough to work when you're busy, tired, stressed, or dealing with unexpected challenges. Start by identifying the minimum effective dose for each component, the smallest amount of practice that will still create meaningful progress. Maybe it's 10 minutes of meditation instead of 30, 20 minutes of skill practice instead of an hour, or 15 minutes of exercise instead of a full workout. The goal is to create a system you can maintain consistently, rather than one that impresses people but can't be sustained. Your system should also be designed around your natural energy patterns and existing schedule. If you're most alert in the morning, schedule your most important self-focus activities then. If your evenings are usually chaotic, don't plan crucial practices for that time. Work with your reality, not against it. The timing of your system matters enormously. The most successful people protect the first part of their day for self-focus activities before external demands can interfere. This doesn't mean you need to wake up at 4 a.m., but it does mean prioritizing your reconstruction before you prioritize everyone else's needs and expectations. Implementation should be gradual and strategic. Don't try to implement your entire system at once. This overwhelms your brain's ability to adapt and almost guarantees failure. Instead, add one component at a time, spending 1 to 2 weeks, making each practice automatic before adding the next one. This allows your brain to adapt to each change before introducing new challenges. Your system also needs built-in flexibility and adaptation mechanisms. Life will interfere with your routine, and your needs will evolve as you grow. Build contingency plans for different scenarios. What's your minimum system when you're traveling, sick, or dealing with major life events? How will you adjust your practices as your skills and goals develop? Tracking and measurement are essential for maintaining momentum and motivation. You need clear metrics that show whether your system is working and where adjustments are needed. This might be as simple as checking off completed practices each day, or as sophisticated as tracking specific metrics related to your goals. But avoid turning measurement into an obsession that distracts from the actual practices. The goal is to have enough data to make informed adjustments to your system, not to get lost in tracking for its own sake. Your system should also include regular review and optimization periods. Schedule weekly, monthly, and quarterly reviews where you assess what's working, what's not, and what needs to be adjusted. Personal reconstruction is a dynamic process, and your system needs to evolve with your growth. Environmental design is crucial for system success. Your environment should make your self-focused practices easier and more automatic. This might mean setting out workout clothes the night before, keeping a journal and pen next to your bed, or creating a dedicated space for meditation and reflection. Remove friction from the behaviors you want to maintain and add friction to behaviors you want to eliminate. Make it easier to follow your system than to skip it. Finally, your system needs to be intrinsically motivating rather than based on external validation or rewards. The practices themselves should feel meaningful and valuable, not just like tasks to check off a list. This happens when you connect each practice to your deeper vision of who you're becoming and why that transformation matters to you. When you have a well-designed daily self-focus system, personal reconstruction becomes inevitable rather than hopeful. You're no longer leaving your growth to chance or waiting for the perfect conditions to improve yourself. You're systematically, consistently, and deliberately building the person you want to become. one day at a time. Chapter 5. Eliminating external distractions and mental noise. Your mind is under constant assault from distractions designed to hijack your attention and scatter your focus. Every notification, social media platform, news alert, and entertainment option is engineered by teams of psychologists and neuroscientists to be as addictive and engaging as possible. If you want to rebuild yourself, you must first reclaim control of your mental environment. The average person is exposed to over 5,000 advertisements per day, checks their phone every 1-2 minutes, and consumes the equivalent of 174 newspapers worth of information daily, 5 times more than in 1986. Your brain wasn't designed to process this volume of input, and the result is a constant state of mental fragmentation that makes deep focus and meaningful progress nearly impossible. But the problem isn't just the quantity of distractions, it's their designed addictiveness. Social media platforms use variable ratio reinforcement schedules, the same psychological principle that makes gambling addictive. You never know when you'll get a like, comment, or share. So your brain releases dopamine not just when you receive engagement, but in anticipation of potentially receiving it. This creates a neurochemical addiction that hijacks your brain's reward system. Your mind starts craving the quick dopamine hits provided by external stimulation more than the slower, deeper satisfaction that comes from focused work and personal growth. The result is a constant state of mental restlessness where you can't focus deeply on anything for extended periods. Breaking free from this distraction trap requires more than just willpower or good intentions. You need to systematically redesign your environment and habits to support sustained focus rather than constant stimulation. The first step is conducting a distraction audit. For 1 week, track every time you reach for your phone, check social media, browse the internet, or engage with any form of entertainment that isn't directly serving your growth. Don't try to change anything yet. Just observe and record. Most people are shocked to discover how frequently they interrupt their own focus without realizing it. The second step is implementing what I call distraction barriers. Deliberate obstacles that create friction between you and your most compelling distractions. This might mean putting your phone in another room while you work, using website blockers during focus time, or deleting social media apps from your phone, so you have to make a conscious decision to re-download them each time you want to use them. The goal isn't to eliminate all entertainment or connection. It's to make these activities intentional choices rather than automatic responses to boredom or restlessness. The third step is replacing distraction habits with focus habits. Your brain has been trained to reach for stimulation whenever it encounters empty space or mild discomfort. Instead of trying to suppress this urge, redirect it toward activities that serve your reconstruction. When you feel the impulse to check your phone, do 10 push-ups, review your goals, or practice a skill for 5 minutes. This redirection serves 2 purposes. It breaks the automatic pattern of reaching for distractions, and it trains your brain to associate moments of restlessness with productive action rather than passive consumption. Environmental design plays a crucial role in eliminating distractions. Your physical space should be optimized for focus rather than entertainment. This means removing or minimizing visual clutter, creating dedicated spaces for important activities, and ensuring that the tools you need for growth are more accessible than the tools that provide distraction. If your phone is always within arm's reach, but your books are in another room, You're designing your environment for distraction. If your television is the focal point of your living space, but you don't have a comfortable place to read or write, you're architecting failure into your life. Mental noise is often harder to eliminate than external distractions because it comes from within. Mental noise includes worry about things you can't control, replay of past conversations or mistakes, anticipation of future problems, and the constant internal commentary that many people mistake for thinking. This internal chatter prevents deep focus and clear thinking just as effectively as external distractions. The solution is developing what psychologists call metacognitive awareness, the ability to observe your own thought processes without being controlled by them. Meditation is one of the most effective tools for developing this awareness, but it doesn't have to involve sitting in lotus position for hours. Simple practices like focusing on your breath for 5 minutes, observing your thoughts without judgment, or practicing mindful awareness during routine activities can significantly reduce mental noise. The key is learning to distinguish between useful thinking and mental chatter. Useful thinking is purposeful, directed, and leads to insights or decisions. Mental chatter is repetitive, circular, and serves no constructive purpose. When you notice mental chatter arising, you can acknowledge it and redirect your attention to something more productive. Another powerful technique for reducing mental noise is what I call thought scheduling. Instead of allowing worries, planning, and problem-solving to interrupt your focus throughout the day, schedule specific times for these activities. When distracting thoughts arise during focus time, write them down to address during your scheduled thinking time. Then return your attention to your current task. This practice teaches your brain that every thought doesn't need immediate attention, which dramatically reduces the mental interruptions that fragment your focus. Information diet is as important as food diet for maintaining mental clarity. Just as eating junk food makes your body sluggish and unhealthy, consuming junk information makes your mind scattered and ineffective. You need to be as selective about what you feed your mind as you are about what you feed your body. This means being intentional about your news consumption, social media usage, and entertainment choices. Ask yourself, is this information helping me become the person I want to be? Is it giving me actionable insights I can apply to my goals? Is it improving my mood and energy, or draining them? If the answer is no, eliminate it from your information diet. Your attention is too valuable to waste on content that doesn't serve your growth. The final element of eliminating distractions is building what researchers call cognitive endurance, your ability to maintain sustained focus for extended periods. Like physical endurance, this capacity can be developed through progressive training. Start by identifying your current attention span for focused work. How long can you work on something important before feeling the urge to check your phone or switch tasks? Then gradually extend this period by 5 to 10 minutes each week while maintaining the same level of focus intensity. This progressive training rebuilds your brain's capacity for deep work and makes sustained focus feel natural rather than forced. Over time, you'll find that you can work for hours without feeling the need for distraction or stimulation. Remember, every moment you spend focused on your reconstruction is a moment you're not spending scattered across meaningless distractions. Every time you choose intentional attention over reactive stimulation, you're building the mental strength that separates high achievers from the perpetually distracted masses. Your ability to focus is your ability to create the life you want. Protect it, develop it, and use it wisely. Chapter 6. Building Unbreakable Mental Discipline. Mental discipline is the bridge between who you are now and who you want to become. It's the ability to do what needs to be done regardless of how you feel, what obstacles arise, or how uncomfortable the process becomes. Without mental discipline, all your plans, goals, and systems are just wishful thinking. Most people fundamentally misunderstand what mental discipline actually is. They think it's about forcing yourself to do things through sheer willpower, grinding through discomfort, or suppressing your natural desires. This approach leads to burnout, resentment, and eventual failure because it treats discipline as a battle against yourself rather than an alliance with your highest aspirations. True mental discipline isn't about self-punishment or deprivation. It's about training your mind to automatically choose long-term fulfillment over short-term gratification. It's about building mental systems that make the right choices feel natural and automatic rather than forced and difficult. Your brain has two primary decision-making systems. The first is the limbic system, which operates on emotion, impulse, and immediate gratification. This system wants whatever feels good right now and avoids whatever creates discomfort or effort. The second is the prefrontal cortex, which can think long-term, consider consequences, and make decisions based on your values and goals rather than your immediate feelings. Mental discipline is the practice of strengthening your prefrontal cortex while training your limbic system to support your long-term objectives rather than sabotage them. This happens through specific practices that literally rewire your brain for delayed gratification and strategic thinking. The foundation of mental discipline is what psychologists call cognitive load management. Your brain has limited processing power, and when that power is consumed by decision-making, emotional regulation, or mental effort, you have less available for discipline and willpower. This is why you might eat well all day, but make poor food choices when you're tired and stressed in the evening. Building mental discipline requires reducing the cognitive load of good decisions while increasing the cognitive load of bad decisions. You do this by creating systems, habits, and environments that make disciplined choices automatic, while making undisciplined choices require conscious effort and decision-making. For example, if you want to exercise consistently, you reduce the cognitive load by laying out your workout clothes the night before, scheduling specific workout times, and creating a routine that doesn't require daily decision-making. You increase the cognitive load of skipping workouts by creating accountability systems, tracking your consistency, and designing consequences for missed sessions. The practice of mental discipline begins with small, consistent actions that train your brain for delayed gratification. Start with micro-disciplines that require minimal willpower, but build the neural pathways for choosing long-term benefits over short-term comfort. This might mean making your bed every morning, drinking a glass of water before checking your phone, or doing 10 push-ups whenever you feel the urge to scroll social media. These micro-disciplines seem trivial, but they serve a crucial function. They train your brain to associate small discomforts with positive outcomes. Each time you choose the slightly more difficult option and experience a positive result, you're building evidence that short-term effort leads to long-term benefit. This evidence becomes the foundation for larger, disciplined choices. Progressive overload is as important for mental discipline as it is for physical strength. You can't jump from no discipline to perfect discipline any more than you can jump from no exercise to running a marathon. You build mental strength gradually by consistently choosing slightly more challenging actions than feel completely comfortable. If you currently struggle to focus for 10 minutes without distraction, don't try to immediately focus for 2 hours. Build up gradually. 10 minutes today, 12 minutes tomorrow, 15 minutes next week. This progressive approach allows your brain to adapt without triggering overwhelming resistance. Environmental design plays a massive role in mental discipline. Your environment should be structured to support disciplined choices rather than require constant willpower to overcome temptations. This means removing or minimizing access to things that derail your progress, while making tools for success easily accessible. If you want to read more, keep books visible and accessible while moving your TV remote to another room. If you want to eat better, stock your kitchen with healthy foods while removing junk food entirely. Your environment should vote for the person you want to become rather than the person you've been. Mental discipline also requires developing what researchers call implementation intentions. Specific if-then plans that remove decision-making from challenging situations. Instead of relying on in-the-moment willpower, you pre-decide how you'll respond to predictable obstacles and temptations. For example, if I feel like checking social media during work hours, then I will do 5 deep breaths and return to my current task. If I want to skip my workout, then I will commit to just 5 minutes and see how I feel. If I'm tempted to stay up late watching videos, then I will remind myself of my morning goals and go to bed immediately. These implementation intentions create automatic responses that bypass the mental negotiation that usually leads to poor choices. When the situation arises, you don't have to decide what to do. You already know. The most successful people understand that mental discipline isn't about perfection. It's about consistency and recovery. You will have moments of weakness, poor choices, and setbacks. The key is developing the ability to return to disciplined behavior quickly rather than using one mistake as an excuse to abandon your standards entirely. This requires what psychologists call self-compassion without self-indulgence. You acknowledge mistakes without harsh self-criticism. Learn from them without dwelling on them, and return to your disciplined practices without waiting for perfect conditions or motivation. Mental discipline becomes easier when it's connected to a compelling vision of who you're becoming, rather than driven by fear of who you don't want to be. Discipline motivated by inspiration is sustainable. Discipline motivated by shame or fear eventually leads to rebellion and burnout. Regularly connect your daily disciplined actions to your long-term vision. Remind yourself why these small, sometimes uncomfortable choices matter. When you can clearly see how today's discipline creates tomorrow's freedom, making the right choice becomes easier. Chapter 7. Physical optimization for mental performance. Your body is not separate from your mind. It's the foundation that supports every mental process you engage in. The state of your physical health directly impacts your ability to think clearly, regulate emotions, maintain focus, and execute your plans. Optimizing your physical condition isn't vanity. It's a strategic requirement for personal reconstruction. Research consistently shows that physical fitness correlates with improved cognitive function, emotional stability, stress resilience, and overall life satisfaction. When you improve your physical condition, you're not just building a stronger body, You're creating a more capable brain and a more resilient nervous system. The connection between physical and mental performance operates through multiple mechanisms. Exercise increases the production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, a protein that promotes the growth of new neural connections and protects existing brain cells. Regular physical activity also improves blood flow to the brain, delivering more oxygen and nutrients to support optimal cognitive function. Physical exercise is one of the most powerful tools for emotional regulation. When you exercise, your body releases endorphins, dopamine, and other neurotransmitters that naturally improve mood and reduce stress. More importantly, regular exercise increases your overall stress tolerance, making you more resilient when facing challenges and setbacks. But physical optimization goes far beyond just exercise. It encompasses sleep quality, nutrition, hydration, posture, breathing, and recovery practices. Each of these elements impacts your mental performance, and optimizing them systematically can dramatically enhance your ability to focus, learn, and execute your reconstruction plans. Sleep is the foundation of physical and mental optimization. During sleep, your brain consolidates memories, processes emotions, clears metabolic waste, and prepares for optimal performance the next day. Poor sleep quality impairs decision-making, emotional regulation, creativity, and willpower, essentially sabotaging every aspect of personal development. Most people know they should get more sleep, but few understand how to optimize sleep quality. It's not just about the number of hours. It's about creating conditions that support deep, restorative sleep. This means maintaining consistent sleep and wake times, creating a cool, dark, quiet sleep environment, and avoiding stimulants and screens before bedtime. Your pre-sleep routine is as important as your sleep duration. Spend the hour before bed engaging in calming activities that signal to your brain that it's time to wind down. This might include reading, gentle stretching, meditation, or planning the next day. Avoid stimulating content, emotional conversations, or mentally demanding tasks that can keep your brain activated when it should be preparing for rest. Nutrition directly impacts your cognitive function and emotional state. Your brain consumes about 20% of your daily calories and requires steady glucose levels to function optimally. Extreme dietary fluctuations, processed foods, and nutrient deficiencies can create brain fog, mood swings, and decreased mental performance. Focus on eating foods that provide sustained energy rather than quick spikes and crashes. This generally means emphasizing protein, healthy fats, and complex carbohydrates, while minimizing processed foods, excess sugar, and artificial additives. The goal isn't perfect nutrition. It's consistent nutrition that supports stable energy and clear thinking throughout the day. Hydration affects every cellular process in your body, including those in your brain. Even mild dehydration can impair concentration, memory, and mood. Most people are chronically dehydrated without realizing it, especially if they consume caffeine or alcohol regularly. Aim to drink water consistently throughout the day rather than trying to catch up when you notice you're thirsty. Start your day with a large glass of water to rehydrate after sleep, and keep water easily accessible during work and exercise. Pay attention to how hydration affects your energy and mental clarity. Most people notice significant improvements when they maintain proper hydration. Physical posture impacts your mental state more than most people realize. Slouched, collapsed posture sends signals to your brain that you're tired, defeated, or unconfident. Upright, open posture sends signals that you're alert, capable, and ready for action. This isn't just psychological. Posture directly affects breathing, blood flow, and nervous system activation. Practice maintaining good posture throughout the day, especially during important activities like work, learning, or planning. Stand tall, keep your shoulders back, and maintain an open chest. This simple change can improve your mood, confidence, and mental clarity almost immediately. Breathing is the most accessible tool for immediate physical and mental optimization. Most people breathe shallowly from their chest, which activates the stress response and limits oxygen delivery to the brain. Learning to breathe deeply from your diaphragm can instantly improve focus, reduce stress, and enhance mental performance. Practice breathing exercises regularly. Inhale slowly through your nose for 4 counts. Hold for 4 counts. Then exhale through your mouth for 6 counts. This simple practice activates your parasympathetic nervous system, which promotes calm, alertness, and optimal cognitive function. Recovery practices are essential for maintaining high performance over time. Your body and brain need regular periods of restoration to adapt to stress and continue improving. This includes not just sleep, but also active recovery, like gentle movement, stretching, massage, or relaxation practices. Build recovery into your schedule rather than treating it as optional. High performers understand that recovery isn't lazy. It's strategic. Regular recovery allows you to train harder, think more clearly, and maintain peak performance for longer periods. Movement throughout the day is crucial for maintaining energy and focus. Sitting for extended periods reduces blood flow, decreases alertness, and impairs cognitive function. Build movement breaks into your daily routine. Take walking meetings, use a standing desk, do bodyweight exercises between tasks, or simply walk around for a few minutes every hour. The type of exercise you choose matters less than consistency. Find physical activities you genuinely enjoy and can maintain long-term. This might be weightlifting, running, dancing, martial arts, yoga, or recreational sports. The best exercise program is the one you'll actually follow consistently. Physical optimization isn't about becoming an elite athlete. It's about creating a physical foundation that supports your mental and emotional goals. When your body is strong, healthy, and energetic, every other aspect of personal reconstruction becomes easier. When your body is weak, sick, or tired, even simple tasks become challenging. Start with small, sustainable changes rather than dramatic overhauls. Add one healthy habit at a time. Focus on consistency over perfection, and pay attention to how physical changes impact your mental performance. Over time, these small improvements compound into significant enhancements in your overall capacity and quality of life. Chapter 8. Mastering your emotional landscape. Emotions are not obstacles to overcome or weaknesses to suppress. They are powerful sources of information and energy that, when properly understood and directed, become your greatest allies in personal reconstruction. Most people are controlled by their emotions rather than collaborating with them. which creates internal chaos and external inconsistency. Emotional mastery doesn't mean becoming emotionless or suppressing natural responses. It means developing the ability to feel your emotions fully while choosing your responses consciously. It's about becoming the director of your emotional experience rather than being a victim of whatever feelings arise. The first step in emotional mastery is understanding that emotions are not facts about reality. They are interpretations of reality, filtered through your beliefs, past experiences, and current state. Two people can experience the exact same situation and have completely different emotional responses based on their internal interpretation of what's happening. This understanding is liberating because it means you have more control over your emotional experience than you might think. While you can't always control what emotions arise, you can influence how you interpret situations and how you respond to whatever feelings emerge. Emotional awareness is the foundation of emotional mastery. Most people experience emotions as vague, overwhelming states, rather than specific, understandable signals. They know they feel bad or stressed, but can't identify the specific emotions involved or what those emotions are trying to communicate. Start building emotional awareness by developing a more sophisticated emotional vocabulary. Instead of just good or bad, learn to identify specific emotions like frustration, disappointment, excitement, gratitude, anxiety, or determination. Each emotion carries different information and suggests different responses. Practice checking in with yourself regularly throughout the day. Ask, what am I feeling right now? Where do I feel it in my body? What might have triggered this emotion? What is this feeling trying to tell me? This simple practice builds the self-awareness that makes emotional mastery possible. Emotions always have a purpose, even when they feel uncomfortable or inconvenient. Fear alerts you to potential threats and motivates preparation or caution. Anger signals that your boundaries have been violated and motivates you to protect your values. Sadness helps you process loss and connects you to what matters most to you. Excitement indicates opportunity and motivates action. When you start viewing emotions as information rather than problems, you can respond more effectively to what they're telling you. Instead of trying to eliminate uncomfortable emotions, you can listen to their message and take appropriate action based on that information. Emotional regulation is different from emotional suppression. Suppression involves pushing emotions down or pretending they don't exist, which typically makes them stronger and more problematic. Regulation involves acknowledging emotions, understanding their message, and choosing how to express and respond to them in productive ways. One of the most powerful emotional regulation techniques is what psychologists call cognitive reappraisal, consciously changing how you interpret a situation to change your emotional response. This doesn't mean lying to yourself or denying reality. It means looking for alternative perspectives that serve you better. For example, if you're nervous about a presentation, instead of interpreting those feelings as evidence that you'll fail, you can reinterpret them as excitement and preparation energy. If someone criticizes your work, instead of interpreting it as a personal attack, you can view it as valuable feedback that will help you improve. The key to cognitive reappraisal is finding interpretations that are both realistic and empowering. You're not trying to convince yourself that challenges don't exist. You're choosing to focus on aspects of the situation that help you respond more effectively. Breathing is your most immediate tool for emotional regulation. When you're experiencing intense emotions, your breathing often becomes shallow and rapid, which intensifies the emotional state and impairs clear thinking. Conscious breathing can quickly shift your nervous system from reactive to responsive. When you notice intense emotions arising, pause and take 5 deep, slow breaths before responding. This simple practice activates your parasympathetic nervous system, reduces stress hormones, and gives your prefrontal cortex time to engage before your limbic system takes over. Physical movement is another powerful tool for emotional regulation. Emotions create energy in your body, and sometimes the best way to process that energy is through movement. This might mean going for a walk when you're angry, doing jumping jacks when you're anxious, or dancing when you're excited. The goal isn't to eliminate the emotion, but to move the energy through your system in a healthy way that leaves you feeling more balanced and clear-headed. Emotional boundaries are essential for maintaining your emotional well-being while rebuilding yourself. You need to learn to distinguish between your emotions and other people's emotions, and to take responsibility for your emotional state rather than making others responsible for how you feel. This means not taking on other people's emotional states as your own, not trying to control how others feel, and not expecting others to manage your emotions for you. You can be empathetic and supportive without becoming emotionally enmeshed or codependent. Emotional mastery also requires developing what researchers call emotional granularity, the ability to distinguish between similar emotions with nuance and precision. Instead of just feeling upset, you might recognize that you're feeling disappointed, frustrated, and slightly anxious about a specific outcome. This granularity allows for more targeted and effective responses. Disappointment might call for adjusting expectations or finding alternative approaches. Frustration might indicate the need for a break or different strategy. Anxiety might suggest the need for more preparation or support. Building positive emotional states is as important as managing difficult ones. Gratitude, enthusiasm, curiosity, and determination are not just nice feelings. They are powerful psychological states that enhance your ability to learn, create, and persevere through challenges. Cultivate positive emotions intentionally through practices like gratitude journaling, celebrating small wins, engaging in activities that genuinely excite you, and surrounding yourself with people who inspire and uplift you. These positive states create upward spirals that make personal reconstruction easier and more enjoyable. Remember that emotional mastery is a lifelong practice, not a destination. You'll continue to encounter new emotional challenges as you grow and face new situations. The goal is to build the skills and awareness that allow you to navigate any emotional landscape with wisdom, grace, and effectiveness. Chapter 9. Accelerated Learning and Skill Acquisition. The speed at which you acquire new skills and knowledge directly determines how quickly you can rebuild yourself into the person you want to become. In a rapidly changing world, your ability to learn faster than problems evolve is not just an advantage, it's a survival requirement. Most people approach learning the same way they did in school, passively consuming information and hoping it sticks. This approach is inefficient, frustrating, and often ineffective for real-world skill development. Accelerated learning requires understanding how your brain actually acquires new capabilities and designing your learning process around those principles. The first principle of accelerated learning is that skills are built through deliberate practice, not passive consumption. Reading about something or watching videos teaches you about a skill, but it doesn't give you the skill itself. Skills are developed through repeated practice, with immediate feedback and progressive difficulty. This means you need to move from theory to practice as quickly as possible. Spend 20% of your time learning about a skill and 80% of your time practicing it. The practice should be focused, challenging, and designed to push you slightly beyond your current comfort zone. Deliberate practice is different from mindless repetition. It involves specific goals for each practice session, immediate feedback on your performance, and conscious effort to improve specific aspects of your skill. Simply doing something repeatedly won't make you better if you're not actively trying to improve specific elements. Set up your practice sessions with clear objectives. What specific aspect of this skill am I trying to improve today? How will I know if I'm improving? What feedback mechanisms will tell me if I'm practicing correctly? This focused approach accelerates improvement far beyond casual practice. The 80/20 principle applies powerfully to skill acquisition. In any skill, roughly 20% of the components will give you 80% of the results. Your job as an efficient learner is to identify and focus on those high-impact elements first, rather than trying to master everything simultaneously. For example, if you're learning a new language, focus first on the most commonly used words and phrases, rather than trying to learn vocabulary alphabetically. If you're learning to code, master the fundamental concepts that appear in every program before diving into advanced techniques. This requires researching what truly matters in your chosen skill. Find experts, study what they consider most important, and design your practice around those core elements. Once you've mastered the fundamentals, you can add complexity and refinement. Spaced repetition is crucial for moving knowledge from short-term to long-term memory. Your brain strengthens neural pathways through repeated activation over time. Cramming might help you pass a test, but it doesn't create lasting skill development. Instead of practicing something intensively for a short period, spread your practice over longer time periods with gaps in between. Review and practice skills regularly, even after you think you've mastered them. This spaced approach creates stronger, more permanent neural pathways. Mental models are frameworks that help you understand and organize information more effectively. Instead of learning isolated facts or techniques, learn the underlying principles and patterns that connect everything together. This creates a foundation that makes learning-related skills much faster. For example, once you understand the mental model of leverage in physics, you can quickly understand how it applies to business, negotiation, and personal productivity. Mental models create scaffolding that supports and accelerates future learning. Teaching others is one of the most effective ways to accelerate your own learning. When you explain something to someone else, you're forced to organize your knowledge clearly and identify gaps in your understanding. You also benefit from their questions, which often reveal aspects of the skill you hadn't considered. Look for opportunities to teach, mentor, or coach others in skills you're developing. This might be formal teaching, informal conversations, writing about what you're learning, or creating content that explains concepts to others. Cross-training between different but related skills can accelerate learning in all areas. Skills often share underlying principles, and mastery in one area can transfer to others. A background in music can help with language learning. Martial arts can improve sports performance. Writing can enhance thinking and communication in any field. Look for connections between skills you're developing and skills you already have. How can your existing knowledge accelerate learning in new areas? What transferable principles can you apply from one domain to another? Environment design is crucial for accelerated learning. Your learning environment should minimize distractions and maximize focus. This might mean creating a dedicated study space, eliminating interruptions during practice time, or surrounding yourself with reminders of why you're developing this skill. The people around you also affect your learning speed. Surround yourself with others who are also committed to growth, who support your learning efforts, and who can provide feedback and encouragement. Avoid people who discourage learning or mock your efforts to improve. Failure and mistakes are not obstacles to learning. They are essential components of the learning process. Your brain learns by making predictions, testing them against reality, and adjusting based on the results. Mistakes provide the information your brain needs to improve its predictions. Embrace mistakes as learning opportunities rather than evidence of inadequacy. Analyze what went wrong, what you can learn from it, and how you can adjust your approach. The faster you fail and learn from those failures, the faster you'll develop genuine skill. Sleep and recovery are often overlooked elements of accelerated learning. Your brain consolidates learning during sleep, converting short-term memories into long-term skills. Adequate rest isn't lazy, it's essential for skill development. Plan learning sessions when your brain is fresh and alert, and ensure you get quality sleep after practice sessions. This biological process of consolidation is as important as the practice itself. Technology can accelerate learning when used strategically. Use apps for spaced repetition, video for visual learning, and online communities for feedback and support. But don't let technology become a distraction from actual practice. The goal is to learn skills that serve your vision of who you're becoming. Stay focused on skills that will genuinely contribute to your reconstruction rather than getting distracted by interesting but irrelevant knowledge. Every skill you master should make you more capable of creating the life you want. Chapter 10. Building Momentum and Consistency. Momentum is the difference between people who achieve extraordinary transformations and those who remain stuck in cycles of starting and stopping. Once you build genuine momentum in your reconstruction process, maintaining progress becomes easier than stopping. But building that initial momentum requires understanding the psychological and practical principles that create sustained forward motion. Most people think momentum is about working harder, but it's actually about working more consistently. Small, consistent actions compound over time to create massive results, while sporadic bursts of intense effort rarely create lasting change. The key is building systems that ensure you make progress every single day, regardless of how you feel or what obstacles arise. Momentum begins with what researchers call minimum viable progress, the smallest possible action you can take each day that still moves you forward. This might be reading 1 page, doing 5 push-ups, writing 1 paragraph, or spending 10 minutes on skill practice. The goal isn't to accomplish everything at once. It's to maintain forward motion, regardless of circumstances. Your brain builds habits and motivation through success experiences. Each time you follow through on a commitment to yourself, you strengthen your self-trust and confidence. Each time you break a commitment, you weaken your belief in your own reliability. Minimum viable progress ensures you can maintain consistency even on your worst days. When you inevitably have days when you're sick, overwhelmed, or facing unexpected challenges, having a minimum standard allows you to maintain your momentum without needing perfect conditions. This consistency is more valuable than occasional perfect days surrounded by inconsistent effort. The key is making your minimum viable progress genuinely achievable. If you set the bar too high, you'll break your consistency during difficult periods and lose momentum. If you set it appropriately low, you'll maintain forward motion that often naturally expands into larger actions. Energy management is more important than time management for building momentum. You have different types of energy throughout the day: physical, mental, emotional, and creative. Understanding when you have which type of energy allows you to schedule activities when you're naturally best equipped to handle them. Most people try to do their most important work when they have the least energy available, then wonder why they struggle with consistency. Schedule your reconstruction activities during your peak energy periods and use low energy times for maintenance tasks or recovery. This might mean doing creative work first thing in the morning when your mind is fresh, exercising when your physical energy is highest, or doing planning and reflection when you're mentally alert, but not necessarily physically energetic. Progress tracking is essential for maintaining momentum because it makes your improvement visible and concrete. Without tracking, progress often feels invisible, which undermines motivation and consistency. But effective tracking focuses on leading indicators rather than lagging indicators. Leading indicators are the daily actions you can control, like time spent practicing, pages read, or workouts completed. Lagging indicators are the results those actions eventually produce, like skill level achieved, knowledge gained, or fitness improvements. Focus your tracking on leading indicators because they give you immediate feedback on your consistency and allow you to adjust your approach quickly. Lagging indicators often change slowly and can be influenced by factors beyond your control. Keep your tracking simple and sustainable. Elaborate tracking systems often become burdens that drain energy rather than providing motivation. A simple checkmark for each daily action is often more effective than complex metrics and measurements. Celebration and acknowledgement are crucial for maintaining momentum. Your brain needs positive reinforcement to maintain behaviors over time. Most people are good at criticizing themselves for mistakes, but terrible at acknowledging their progress and consistency. Build regular celebration into your reconstruction process. This might be weekly reviews where you acknowledge your consistency, monthly assessments where you recognize your progress, or daily moments where you appreciate your effort. The celebration doesn't need to be elaborate. Simple acknowledgement and appreciation are often enough. Social momentum can dramatically accelerate your individual momentum. When you're surrounded by other people who are also committed to growth, their energy and consistency support your own. This might happen through accountability partners, online communities, local groups, or mentorship relationships. Choose your social environment carefully. People who aren't committed to growth will often unconsciously sabotage your momentum through discouragement, temptation, or negative energy. Surround yourself with people who support and inspire your reconstruction efforts. Obstacle preparation prevents momentum loss when challenges arise. Instead of hoping everything will go smoothly, identify the most likely obstacles to your consistency and create specific plans for dealing with them. What will you do when you're traveling? How will you maintain your practices when you're sick? What's your plan when work becomes unusually demanding? How will you handle family emergencies or unexpected commitments? Having predetermined responses to common obstacles allows you to maintain momentum even when life becomes chaotic. You don't have to make decisions in the moment when your willpower is depleted. You simply follow the plan you created when you were thinking clearly. Seasonal adjustment helps maintain long-term momentum by acknowledging that your energy, motivation, and circumstances naturally fluctuate throughout the year. Instead of trying to maintain exactly the same practices year-round, adjust your expectations and approaches based on natural cycles and life circumstances. You might have more intensive growth periods during certain times of year and maintenance periods during others. The key is planning these variations rather than being surprised by them and losing momentum entirely. Remember that momentum is not about perfection. It's about persistence. You will have bad days, setbacks, and periods where progress feels slow. The goal is to maintain forward motion through these challenges rather than waiting for perfect conditions that never come. Building momentum requires patience with the process while maintaining urgency about consistency. Trust that small, consistent actions will compound into significant results over time, but maintain daily urgency about taking those small actions regardless of how you feel or what obstacles arise. Once you build genuine momentum, maintaining it becomes easier than starting over. Protect your momentum by prioritizing consistency over perfection, progress over performance, and long-term vision over short-term comfort. The person you become through this consistent effort will be worth every challenge you face along the way. Chapter 11. The Power of Solitude and Deep Reflection. In a world obsessed with constant connection and perpetual stimulation, the ability to be alone with your thoughts has become a superpower. Solitude isn't isolation or loneliness. It's the intentional practice of spending time with yourself without external distractions, allowing for deep reflection, clarity, and genuine self-discovery. Most people are terrified of solitude because they've never learned to enjoy their own company. They fill every quiet moment with phones, music, podcasts, or other people because silence feels uncomfortable. But this constant external stimulation prevents the deep thinking that's essential for personal reconstruction. Your most profound insights, clearest decisions, and most creative solutions emerge during periods of quiet reflection. When you remove external inputs, your brain shifts from reactive processing to generative thinking. You move from responding to other people's ideas to developing your own understanding and vision. Solitude allows you to distinguish between your authentic thoughts and the mental noise created by social conditioning, media influence, and other people's expectations. When you're constantly consuming other people's content and opinions, it becomes difficult to know what you actually think and believe about important matters. Regular periods of solitude create space for what psychologists call self-integration, the process of connecting different aspects of your experience into a coherent understanding of who you are and where you're going. This integration is essential for building authentic confidence and clear direction. The practice of solitude begins with scheduling regular periods where you're completely alone without any external inputs. This means no phone, no music, no books, no distractions of any kind. Just you and your thoughts. Start with short periods, even 10 minutes, can feel challenging if you're not accustomed to genuine solitude. During these periods, allow your mind to wander without trying to direct or control your thoughts. Often, the most valuable insights emerge when you're not forcing them. Pay attention to what naturally comes up when you're not distracted by external demands and stimulation. Deep reflection is different from casual thinking or daydreaming. It's the purposeful examination of your experiences, beliefs, goals, and patterns with the intention of gaining insight and clarity. Deep reflection requires specific questions and frameworks that guide your thinking toward productive insights. Some powerful reflection questions include: what patterns do I notice in my behavior and results? What beliefs about myself and the world might be limiting my growth? What experiences have shaped my current identity? And how do I want that identity to evolve? What would I do differently if I weren't concerned about other people's opinions? Journaling amplifies the power of solitude and reflection by giving your thoughts concrete form. Writing forces you to clarify vague feelings and half-formed ideas. It also creates a record of your thinking that allows you to track your growth and identify patterns over time. The most effective journaling for personal reconstruction is stream of consciousness, writing without editing or censoring. Set a timer for a specific period and write continuously without stopping to correct, revise, or judge what you're writing. This practice bypasses your internal critic and allows deeper truths to emerge. Solitude also provides space for what researchers call prospective thinking, imagining possible futures and planning how to create them. When you're not reacting to immediate demands, you can think strategically about long-term goals and the steps needed to achieve them. Use solitude periods to visualize the person you're becoming and the life you're creating. Make these visions as detailed and emotionally engaging as possible. See yourself living with the habits, skills, and mindset you're developing. Feel the satisfaction of achieving your goals and embodying your highest potential. This prospective thinking serves multiple purposes. It clarifies your direction, increases motivation, and actually begins rewiring your brain to support the behaviors needed to make your vision reality. Neuroscience shows that mentally rehearsing future scenarios strengthens the neural pathways involved in those behaviors. Solitude is also essential for processing difficult emotions and experiences. When you're constantly distracted, challenging feelings get pushed down rather than properly processed. This emotional backlog eventually surfaces as anxiety, depression, or behavioral problems. Use solitude periods to sit with uncomfortable emotions without trying to fix or eliminate them. Ask yourself what these feelings are trying to communicate. What needs aren't being met? What situations require attention or change? What lessons can you extract from difficult experiences? This emotional processing prevents the accumulation of unresolved issues that can sabotage your reconstruction efforts. It also builds emotional resilience and self-awareness that serve you in all areas of life. The fear of solitude often stems from fear of what you might discover about yourself. Many people stay busy and distracted to avoid confronting uncomfortable truths about their lives, relationships, or choices. But avoiding these truths doesn't make them disappear. It just prevents you from addressing them constructively. Embrace solitude as an opportunity for honest self-assessment. What aspects of your life aren't working? What patterns do you need to change? What dreams have you abandoned that still call to you? This honest assessment is the first step toward meaningful change. Solitude shouldn't be escaped through spiritual or philosophical bypassing, using lofty concepts to avoid practical realities. True self-reflection examines both your highest aspirations and your current limitations. It's about understanding where you are, where you want to go, and what stands in your way. Regular solitude practice creates what psychologists call psychological space, the mental and emotional room needed to respond to life consciously rather than react automatically. When you're comfortable with solitude, you're less dependent on external validation, stimulation, and direction. This independence allows you to make decisions based on your own values and vision, rather than social pressure or emotional impulses. You become more confident in your own judgment and less swayed by other people's opinions or expectations. The quality of your solitude matters more than the quantity. 30 minutes of genuine, distraction-free reflection is more valuable than hours of being physically alone while mentally consumed with external concerns. Focus on creating periods of true mental solitude rather than just physical isolation. As you develop comfort with solitude, you'll begin to crave these periods rather than fear them. You'll recognize them as essential for maintaining clarity, processing experiences, and staying connected to your authentic self. Solitude becomes not just a practice, but a sanctuary that supports all your reconstruction efforts. Chapter 12. Eliminating toxic relationships and energy drains. The people you surround yourself with either accelerate your reconstruction or sabotage it. There's no neutral ground when it comes to relationships. Every person in your life either adds energy, vision, and support to your growth, or drains your resources and undermines your progress. Recognizing and eliminating toxic relationships isn't cruelty. It's essential self-preservation. Toxic relationships come in many forms, but they all share common characteristics. They consistently leave you feeling drained, diminished, or discouraged. These relationships might involve people who are negative, manipulative, constantly critical, emotionally unstable, or simply incompatible with the direction you're heading. The most insidious toxic relationships are those that aren't obviously harmful. These might be friendships with people who subtly discourage your growth, family members who guilt you into maintaining old patterns, or colleagues who create unnecessary drama and stress. Because the damage isn't dramatic, you might tolerate these relationships for years while they slowly erode your energy and confidence. Understanding the true cost of toxic relationships is crucial for building the motivation to address them. Every conversation that leaves you feeling worse about yourself is time and energy that could have been invested in your reconstruction. Every person who discourages your goals is actively working against your transformation, even if they claim to care about you. Toxic people often disguise their negativity as concern, realism, or love. They'll tell you they're just looking out for you when they discourage your ambitions, or they're being honest when they consistently point out your flaws. Learning to recognize these disguised attacks is essential for protecting your reconstruction process. The first step in eliminating toxic relationships is conducting a relationship audit. List the people you spend the most time with and honestly assess how each relationship affects your energy, mood, and motivation. After spending time with each person, do you feel energized or drained, inspired or discouraged, confident or insecure? Pay attention to patterns rather than isolated incidents. Everyone has bad days and moments of negativity, but toxic people consistently create negative experiences. They drain your energy more often than they add to it, and they rarely contribute to your growth or well-being. Some relationships are clearly toxic and need to be eliminated entirely. These might include people who are abusive, manipulative, addicted, or consistently destructive. Ending these relationships might be difficult emotionally, but it's necessary for your mental health and personal progress. Other relationships might be salvageable with clear boundaries and changed dynamics. You might love someone who isn't supportive of your growth, but you can limit discussions about your goals and reduce the time you spend together. The key is protecting your reconstruction process while maintaining whatever value the relationship provides. Boundary setting is often more effective than relationship elimination, especially with family members or long-term friends. You can't control other people's behavior, but you can control how much access they have to your time, energy, and emotional state. Clear boundaries might include limiting certain topics of conversation, reducing the frequency of contact, ending conversations that become negative or unproductive, or simply spending less time with people who consistently drain your energy. The goal is protecting your reconstruction efforts while maintaining civility and respect. Many people struggle with ending toxic relationships because they feel guilty about abandoning others or worry about hurting people's feelings. But you're not responsible for other people's emotional reactions to your healthy choices. You're only responsible for creating the conditions that support your own growth and well-being. Remember that maintaining toxic relationships often enables the other person's negative patterns. When you consistently tolerate poor treatment or negative behavior, you're actually preventing that person from experiencing the natural consequences that might motivate them to change. Energy vampires are people who consistently drain your emotional and mental resources without providing equivalent value in return. They might be perpetual victims who never take responsibility for their problems, constant complainers who refuse to seek solutions, or people who always make conversations about their drama and issues. Protecting yourself from energy vampires requires recognizing their patterns and implementing strategies to limit their impact. This might mean setting time limits on conversations, refusing to engage with repetitive complaints, or redirecting conversations away from their preferred dramatic topics. Victim mentality is particularly toxic because it's contagious. People who consistently see themselves as victims of circumstances, other people, or bad luck can unconsciously encourage you to adopt the same perspective. This mindset is incompatible with personal reconstruction, which requires taking responsibility for your choices and outcomes. Distance yourself from people who consistently blame others for their problems. Refuse to take action to improve their situations, or try to convince you that external circumstances determine your fate. Their perspective can undermine your commitment to personal responsibility and growth. Jealousy and envy are common responses when you begin seriously working on personal reconstruction. Some people in your life might feel threatened by your growth because it highlights their own stagnation. They might try to sabotage your efforts through discouragement, criticism, or attempts to pull you back into old patterns. These responses often come from people who claim to care about you, which makes them particularly difficult to address. Family members might guilt you about changing. Friends might accuse you of thinking you're better than everyone, or colleagues might undermine your efforts to improve professionally. Recognize that other people's resistance to your growth is about their own insecurities and limitations, not about you. Don't let their discomfort prevent you from becoming the person you're capable of being. Creating space for new relationships is as important as eliminating toxic ones. As you grow and change, you'll naturally become attracted to different types of people, those who share your commitment to growth, support your vision, and contribute positively to your life experience. Seek out relationships with people who inspire you, challenge you to grow, support your goals, and demonstrate the qualities you want to develop in yourself. These relationships provide energy, encouragement, and examples of what's possible when you commit to personal excellence. Quality relationships require the same intentional cultivation you give to other aspects of your reconstruction. Invest time and energy in people who consistently add value to your life, and gradually reduce investment in relationships that drain your resources without providing equivalent return. Remember that eliminating toxic relationships is not about becoming isolated or antisocial. It's about creating space in your life for relationships that support your highest potential. When you surround yourself with people who believe in your growth and contribute to your success, personal reconstruction becomes easier, more enjoyable, and more sustainable. Chapter 13. Advanced Mental Models and Strategic Thinking. The quality of your thinking determines the quality of your life. Most people operate with outdated, limiting, or simply ineffective mental models that constrain their ability to see opportunities, solve problems, and create the results they want. Upgrading your thinking patterns isn't just helpful for personal reconstruction, it's essential. Mental models are the frameworks your brain uses to interpret reality and make decisions. They're like the operating system of your mind, determining what information you notice, how you interpret events, and what responses seem possible or appropriate. Most people never consciously examine or upgrade their mental models, which means they're operating with default programming that might not serve their goals. The most powerful mental model for personal reconstruction is what researchers call growth mindset. The belief that abilities, intelligence, and talents can be developed through effort, learning, and persistence. This model fundamentally changes how you interpret challenges, failures, and setbacks. With a growth mindset, obstacles become opportunities to develop new capabilities. Failures become information about what doesn't work and guidance toward what might work better. Criticism becomes input for improvement rather than attacks on your worth. This mental shift alone can dramatically accelerate your reconstruction process. The opposite is fixed mindset, the belief that abilities and traits are permanent and unchangeable. This model creates learned helplessness, fear of failure, and resistance to challenges. People with fixed mindsets avoid situations where they might fail or look incompetent, which severely limits their learning and growth. Cultivating growth mindset requires consciously changing how you interpret your experiences. Instead of thinking, "I'm not good at this," think, "I'm not good at this yet." Instead of, "I failed," think, "I learned something valuable." Instead of, "This is too hard," think, "This will help me grow stronger." Systems thinking is another crucial mental model that dramatically improves decision-making and problem-solving. Instead of seeing events as isolated incidents, systems thinking recognizes the interconnected patterns and feedback loops that create results over time. This perspective helps you identify the root causes of problems rather than just treating symptoms. It also helps you understand how small changes in your daily systems can compound into significant transformations over time. When you think in systems, you focus more on processes than outcomes, which leads to more sustainable and predictable results. The compound effect is a mental model that reveals how small, consistent actions create exponential results over time. Most people underestimate the power of small improvements because the effects aren't immediately visible. But when you understand how improvements compound, you become more patient with the process and more committed to consistency. Apply compound thinking to every area of your reconstruction. Small daily improvements in your skills, knowledge, habits, and mindset create massive changes over months and years. This understanding helps you stay motivated during periods when progress feels slow or invisible. First principles thinking involves breaking down complex problems to their most fundamental truths and reasoning up from there. Instead of relying on assumptions, conventions, or what others have done, you examine the basic elements of a situation and build solutions from the ground up. This mental model is particularly powerful for personal reconstruction because it helps you question limiting beliefs and conventional wisdom about what's possible for your life. Instead of accepting that people like me don't achieve X, you can examine whether that belief is actually true or just an assumption based on limited examples. Probabilistic thinking recognizes that most outcomes involve uncertainty and multiple possible scenarios rather than predetermined results. Instead of trying to predict exactly what will happen, you consider the likelihood of different outcomes and prepare accordingly. This model reduces anxiety about the future while improving your decision-making. You can take calculated risks based on probability assessments rather than avoiding all uncertainty or assuming the worst-case scenario is inevitable. It also helps you prepare for multiple contingencies rather than betting everything on one predicted outcome. Opportunity cost thinking evaluates decisions based on what you give up rather than just what you gain. Every choice involves trade-offs, and the most successful people consider what they're not doing when they choose to do something specific. Apply this model to your time and energy allocation. When you spend an hour scrolling social media, you're not just wasting time. You're choosing not to spend that hour on skill development, relationship building, or goal achievement. This perspective helps you make more intentional decisions about how you invest your most valuable resources. Inversion thinking approaches problems by considering what you want to avoid rather than what you want to achieve. Instead of just planning for success, you identify the behaviors and decisions that would guarantee failure and make sure to avoid them. For personal reconstruction, this might mean identifying the habits, relationships, and mindsets that would prevent your growth, then systematically eliminating them from your life. Often, avoiding what doesn't work is easier and more effective than trying to force what does work. The 80/20 principle, or Pareto principle, recognizes that a small number of inputs usually create the majority of outputs. In any area of life, roughly 20% of your efforts produce 80% of your results. Identifying and focusing on these high-impact activities dramatically improves your efficiency and effectiveness. Apply this thinking to your reconstruction efforts. What 20% of your daily activities contribute most to your growth? What 20% of your relationships provide 80% of your support and inspiration? What 20% of your learning activities provide 80% of your skill development? Focus your energy on these high-leverage areas. Anti-fragility is a mental model that goes beyond resilience or strength. Anti-fragile systems don't just survive stress and challenges, they become stronger because of them. Developing anti-fragile thinking means viewing obstacles, setbacks, and difficulties as opportunities to build capacity rather than just problems to overcome. This perspective transforms your relationship with challenges. Instead of trying to avoid all difficulties, you seek out appropriate challenges that will strengthen your capabilities. Instead of being discouraged by setbacks, you extract lessons and strength from them. Second-order thinking considers not just the immediate consequences of decisions, but the consequences of those consequences. Most people only think one step ahead. But second-order thinking helps you anticipate longer-term effects and unintended consequences. Before making significant decisions, ask yourself, what will likely happen as a result of this choice? What will happen as a result of those results? How might this decision affect other areas of my life? This deeper analysis leads to better decisions and fewer unpleasant surprises. Optionality thinking focuses on creating and preserving choices rather than committing to specific outcomes. Instead of betting everything on one path, you develop multiple possibilities and maintain flexibility to adapt as circumstances change. Apply this model to your reconstruction by developing diverse skills, maintaining multiple income streams, building broad networks, and avoiding decisions that eliminate future possibilities unnecessarily. The more options you have, the more resilient and adaptable you become. These mental models become most powerful when you integrate them into your daily thinking rather than just understanding them intellectually. Practice applying different models to the decisions you face, the problems you encounter, and the opportunities you consider. Over time, these upgraded thinking patterns become automatic, giving you significant advantages in every area of life. Chapter 14. Creating your personal operating system. Your life currently runs on a personal operating system, a collection of habits, beliefs, routines, and mental patterns that determine how you function day to day. Most people inherited this operating system from their family, culture, and random experiences, rather than consciously designing it to support their goals. Creating a deliberate personal operating system is essential for sustainable transformation. Think of your personal operating system like the software that runs a computer. It determines what programs can run efficiently, how resources are allocated, what processes happen automatically, and how the system responds to different inputs. If your operating system is outdated or corrupted, even the best applications will run poorly. Your personal operating system consists of several interconnected components. Your beliefs about yourself, what's possible, and how the world works form the foundation. Your daily routines and habits create the structure. Your decision-making frameworks determine how you respond to choices and challenges. Your environmental design influences your automatic behaviors. Most people try to change their results without upgrading their operating system, which is why most attempts at transformation fail. You can't run new software on old hardware indefinitely. Eventually, the old system's limitations will sabotage your new efforts. Creating a new operating system begins with identifying the current system's limitations. What beliefs hold you back from pursuing your goals? What habits drain your energy or waste your time? What routines support mediocrity rather than excellence? What environmental factors encourage old patterns rather than new growth? Be brutally honest about what isn't working. Many people want to believe their current system is mostly fine and just needs minor adjustments. But significant transformation usually requires significant system upgrades. Your belief system is the foundation of your operating system. Beliefs about your capabilities, what you deserve, what's possible for your life, and how success is created will either support or sabotage every other change you try to make. Upgrading limiting beliefs is essential for sustainable transformation. Common limiting beliefs include, people like me don't achieve that level of success. I'm not disciplined enough to maintain good habits. I don't have what it takes to master challenging skills. Or, significant change is too difficult and painful. These beliefs create self-fulfilling prophecies that prevent you from even attempting the changes that could transform your life. Replacing limiting beliefs requires both rational analysis and emotional reconditioning. Rationally, you need evidence that your current beliefs aren't absolute truths, but interpretations based on limited experience. Find examples of people with similar backgrounds who achieved what you want to achieve. Study the specific strategies and mindsets that created their success. Emotionally, you need new experiences that contradict your old beliefs. Start with small challenges that stretch your comfort zone, but aren't so overwhelming that they reinforce limiting beliefs. Build evidence through action that you're more capable than your old programming suggested. Your daily routines form the structural framework of your operating system. These routines should be designed to support your reconstruction goals, rather than just maintaining your current life. Every routine should either build your capabilities, advance your goals, or restore your energy for continued growth. Morning routines are particularly powerful because they set the tone for your entire day and allow you to make progress before external demands interfere. Evening routines help you process the day's experiences and prepare for optimal recovery and next-day performance. Design routines that feel sustainable and enjoyable rather than punitive and forced. If your routines feel like punishment, you'll eventually rebel against them. Find ways to make your growth activities genuinely satisfying and meaningful. Your decision-making frameworks determine how you evaluate choices and respond to opportunities or challenges. Most people make decisions based on immediate emotional reactions or social expectations rather than clear criteria aligned with their goals. Develop specific frameworks for common decisions. How do you decide how to spend your time? What criteria do you use for choosing relationships, opportunities, or commitments? How do you evaluate whether something supports or undermines your reconstruction? Having clear frameworks removes emotional drama from decision-making and helps you stay aligned with your long-term vision, even when facing pressure or temptation. Environmental design ensures your physical and social surroundings support your new operating system rather than pulling you back into old patterns. Your environment should make desired behaviors easier and undesired behaviors more difficult. This includes your physical spaces, the tools and resources you keep accessible, the people you surround yourself with, and the information you consume regularly. Every element should either support your growth or at minimum not actively undermine it. Your operating system also needs built-in maintenance and upgrade protocols. Just as computer operating systems require regular updates and maintenance, your personal system needs regular review, adjustment, and improvement. Schedule regular system reviews, weekly, monthly, and quarterly assessments, where you evaluate what's working, what needs adjustment, and what new components might be beneficial. Your system should evolve as you grow and as your goals become more sophisticated. Integration is crucial for making your new operating system feel natural rather than forced. All the components, beliefs, routines, decision frameworks, and environment should work together synergistically rather than competing with each other. For example, if you believe personal growth is important, but your daily routine doesn't include time for development activities, there's a misalignment that will create internal tension. If you want to build discipline but your environment is full of distractions and temptations, your system is working against itself. Start by implementing small changes across all components, rather than trying to completely overhaul one area at a time. Small, integrated improvements create less resistance and are more likely to become permanent. Your operating system should also include feedback mechanisms that help you stay on track and make adjustments quickly when you drift off course. This might include daily check-ins, weekly reviews, tracking systems, or accountability relationships. The goal isn't perfection but conscious, intentional living, where your daily experiences align with your deepest values and highest aspirations. When your personal operating system is well designed and properly maintained, living according to your vision becomes easier than living any other way. Remember that creating a new operating system takes time and patience. You're essentially rewiring years or decades of automatic patterns. Expect some resistance from your old programming and some inconsistency as the new system becomes established. Focus on progress rather than perfection, and trust that consistent implementation will eventually make your new operating system feel as natural and automatic as your old one once did. Chapter 15. The Transformed Life. Your New Reality. The culmination of focused self-reconstruction isn't just having better habits or skills. It's becoming a fundamentally different person, living in a fundamentally different reality. When you consistently focus on rebuilding yourself, you don't just improve your circumstances. You transform your entire experience of being alive. This transformation happens gradually, then suddenly. For months, you might feel like you're making progress, but still essentially the same person. Then one day you realize that your thoughts, reactions, capabilities, and daily experiences have changed so dramatically that you barely recognize your former self. The person you become through dedicated self-focus operates from a completely different internal state than the person you were before. Instead of reacting to life, you create it. Instead of being driven by emotions, you direct them. Instead of hoping for good outcomes, you systematically create them through disciplined action. This isn't about becoming perfect or eliminating all challenges from your life. It's about developing the internal strength, skills, and wisdom to handle whatever life presents with grace, confidence, and effectiveness. Problems don't disappear, but your capacity to solve them grows exponentially. Your relationship with difficulty changes completely. Instead of avoiding challenges or feeling victimized by them, you begin to seek out appropriate challenges that will continue your growth. You understand that comfort is the enemy of development, and you're no longer willing to trade your potential for temporary ease. This doesn't mean becoming a masochist or creating unnecessary suffering. It means developing the wisdom to distinguish between productive challenges that build strength and pointless difficulties that should be avoided or minimized. The quality of your relationships transforms dramatically. When you've built genuine self-respect, emotional stability, and personal strength, you naturally attract and connect with people who share those qualities. Toxic relationships become impossible to maintain because you no longer tolerate behavior that diminishes your energy or progress. You also become a better friend, partner, colleague, and family member, because you're operating from abundance rather than neediness. You can give freely without depleting yourself, support others without enabling their dysfunction, and maintain your standards without being rigid or judgmental. Your financial situation improves not just because you might earn more money, but because you make better decisions about how you use the money you have. Self-discipline, strategic thinking, and long-term perspective naturally lead to better financial choices and greater economic security. You become less impulsive about purchases, more strategic about investments, and more focused on building assets rather than just consuming. Money becomes a tool for creating the life you want rather than a source of stress or identity. The speed at which you can learn new skills and adapt to new situations increases dramatically. Your brain becomes more flexible, your confidence grows, and your learning strategies become more sophisticated. What once took months to master might now take weeks. This accelerated learning ability becomes crucial in a rapidly changing world. You're no longer threatened by change because you know you can quickly develop whatever new skills or knowledge the situation requires. Your physical health and energy levels improve even if health wasn't your primary focus. The habits, discipline, and self-care practices that support mental and emotional development naturally support physical well-being too. You sleep better, make better food choices, exercise more consistently, and manage stress more effectively. This isn't about becoming obsessed with fitness or appearance, but about recognizing that your body is the foundation that supports everything else you want to accomplish. Taking care of it becomes natural and enjoyable rather than forced and difficult. Your sense of purpose and direction becomes crystal clear. Instead of wondering what you should do with your life or feeling lost among endless possibilities, you develop a clear vision of what matters to you and why. This clarity makes decisions easier and gives your daily actions deeper meaning. This purpose doesn't have to be grandiose or world-changing. It might be mastering your craft, building a strong family, creating art, or simply becoming the best version of yourself. What matters is that it's genuinely yours, not something you've adopted from others' expectations. The anxiety and uncertainty that plague most people's daily experience diminish significantly. When you know you can handle whatever comes your way, when you have systems for making good decisions, and when you're consistently working toward meaningful goals, life feels much more stable and manageable. This doesn't mean never feeling anxious or uncertain. These are natural human emotions. But the baseline anxiety that comes from feeling out of control or unprepared disappears when you've built genuine capability and self-trust. Your tolerance for mediocrity, both in yourself and your circumstances, disappears completely. Standards that once seemed impossibly high become your normal expectations. Excellence in small things becomes automatic because you've trained yourself to care about quality and craftsmanship. This elevated standard of living isn't about perfectionism or judgment of others. It's about respecting yourself enough to create a life that reflects your values and potential, rather than settling for what's easy or socially acceptable. The transformation also changes how you think about time. Instead of feeling like time is always scarce or wasted, you develop a healthy relationship with time as a resource to be invested wisely. You're present for important moments while also building toward future goals. You stop rushing through life trying to get to some imaginary finish line and start appreciating the process of growth and creation. Time becomes an ally rather than an enemy. Your influence and impact on others grows naturally. When you've done the work to rebuild yourself, People notice. They're drawn to your energy, confidence, and capability. You become someone others look to for guidance, inspiration, and example. This influence isn't sought for its own sake, but emerges as a natural consequence of your development. You inspire others simply by living according to your principles and consistently working toward your potential. The most profound change is in your relationship with yourself. The internal criticism, self-doubt, and negative self-talk that once dominated your mental landscape are replaced by self-respect, self-trust, and genuine self-compassion. You become your own best friend, supporter, and advocate. This doesn't mean becoming narcissistic or self-absorbed, but developing the kind of healthy self-relationship that allows you to show up fully for others without losing yourself in the process. This transformation isn't a destination but an ongoing process. The person you become will continue growing, facing new challenges, and reaching higher levels of development. But you'll face these future challenges from a foundation of strength, wisdom, and self-trust that makes anything feel possible. The life you create through focused self-reconstruction becomes a testament to what's possible when someone commits to becoming the best version of themselves. You become living proof that personal transformation isn't just an inspiring idea. It's an achievable reality for anyone willing to do the work. Your transformed life becomes your greatest contribution to the world. By rebuilding yourself, you demonstrate what's possible for human potential. You become an example of what happens when someone takes full responsibility for their development and refuses to settle for anything less than their best. This is the true power of focusing on yourself every day, not just improving your own life, but becoming the kind of person who elevates everything and everyone around them through the sheer force of their example and energy. This is what awaits you on the other side of committed, consistent, daily self-focus.